Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a girl with hair like spun gold. She lived all alone in a high tower deep within an enchanted forest. Now, every day she would sit by the window and dream of a life beyond the trees. One day, while combing her long locks, she heard a gentle knock at the door. Startled, she turned around, but there was no one there. Could it have been the wind? No, she thought, there was someone out there. As days went by, the tapping at the door grew louder and more insistent. And today, something magical happens. Hello, my little friend. Welcome back to our channel where we bring you the best fairy tales and stories for kids. Before we begin our story, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our videos. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you like the stories we tell. In the beginning, Rapunzel lived alone in her high tower. But today something magical happens. Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled between rolling hills and a shimmering lake, there lived a handsome young prince. He was known for his bravery, kindness, and a heart as pure as gold. One day, the prince decided to venture into the whispering woods near his kingdom. It was a dense, ancient forest with gnarled trees that whispered secrets to the wind and paths that seemed to change with every passing hour. As the prince walked deeper into the woods, he heard a sweet voice singing a melody so enchanting it seemed to come from the trees themselves. Curious and drawn by the song, he followed the sound, pushing aside the thick foliage and emerged into a small clearing. There in the center stood a tall, slender tower, as straight and tall as the beanstalk in the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Its peak seemed to touch the clouds, and ivy and vines adorned its sides. The prince couldn't believe his eyes. He had never seen this tower before. Had it been hidden by magic? As he stood there wondering about the tower, the sweet voice began to sing again, and the prince felt a strange pull, a sense of familiarity he couldn't quite explain. It was then that he noticed a small opening near the top of the tower, and from there the voice seemed to be coming. Wondering who could live in such a secluded place, the prince looked around for a way to get closer, but there were no doors or windows on the tower, and the walls were so smooth he could find no handholds. Confused and intrigued, he paced around the base of the tower, racking his brain to figure out a way to climb it. That's when he saw it, a faint shimmer in the light, like a ray of sunshine hitting something precious. He moved closer and gasped. It was her hair. A cascade of golden hair, thicker than any rope, flowed down the side of the tower, glinting in the sunlight. And as the hair swayed, he could see that it was alive, moving ever so slightly as if beckoning him closer. The prince hesitated for a moment, torn between his curiosity and a sense of uncertainty. But the allure of the unknown, the mystery of who lived in the tower, and the memory of that enchanting song were too strong to resist. Taking a deep breath, he reached out and gently touched the shimmering strand, and in that instant everything changed. The hair felt warm and alive under his fingertips, and as he held on to it, it began to lower, slowly at first, then faster, until it reached the ground, forming a rope ladder of spun gold. The prince looked up towards the tower, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was a moment he could not have imagined, a chance to uncover the secrets of the tower and the identity of its mysterious inhabitant. With a determined nod, he began to climb. Some time passed, the prince climbed higher and higher, each step taking him closer to the source of the beautiful song. As he ascended, the voices seemed to grow stronger, filling him with warmth and hope. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he reached the top. The opening was just as the prince had seen from below, a simple yet elegant space framed by the lush greenery of the tower. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, he pushed open the opening and stepped inside. The interior of the tower was even more enchanting than the outside. It was cozy yet spacious, filled with an ethereal glow that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Sunlight streamed through the opening, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air, creating a magical atmosphere that made the prince feel as though he had entered a fairy tale. In the center of the room was a large mirror, ornately carved and reflecting the light in 1,000 different hues. The prince approached the mirror, captivated by its beauty and the mystery it held. As he gazed into its depths, he saw not just his own reflection, but a glimpse of the world outside the tower, the whispering trees and the sun-dappled clearing. It was as if the mirror was a portal to the magic that surrounded them, connecting the inside of the tower to the enchanting forest beyond. And then he heard it again, the sweet voice that had drawn him to this place. It seemed to be coming from above. The prince looked up and saw, high above him, a set of stairs spiraling upwards, disappearing into the shadows. With a mix of trepidation and excitement, he began to climb. As the prince ascended the stairs, the voice grew louder, weaving its magic around him. The stairs led to a small balcony overlooking the forest, and there she was, the voice, the vision of beauty with hair like spun gold. She was sitting by the railing, her back to the prince, lost in the enchanting view. The prince stood there for a moment, mesmerized by her presence. Her hair, a radiant waterfall of gold, cascaded down her back, catching the light and casting dancing shadows on the floor. The sight was so captivating that the prince couldn't take his eyes off her. Suddenly, as if sensing his gaze, she turned around. Their eyes met, and in that instant the world around them seemed to fade away. Time stood still, and all the prince could think about was the breathtaking vision before him. She had skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and eyes that sparkled like stars in the night sky. The prince was lost for words, unable to utter a sound as he took in the sight of Rapunzel. Meanwhile, Rapunzel too was taken aback. She had never seen anyone other than the old witch, and the sudden appearance of a handsome prince had left her surprised and a little bit scared. When the prince found his voice, the first thing he said was, "What a beautiful view." Rapunzel smiled and replied, "It is pretty." She paused for a moment, then asked, "Who are you?" The prince introduced himself and explained how he had heard her singing and could unresist the enchanting melody. Rapunzel, in turn, told him about her life in the tower and the old witch who had raised her. The prince sat down next to her on the balcony, and they talked for hours. They shared their dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. It was as if they had known each other forever. By the time the sun began to set, they had become fast friends. The prince had to leave, and as they said goodbye, they made a promise to meet again tomorrow. The prince climbed down the golden stairs and retraced his steps, leaving the tower and returning to the Whispering Woods. As days went by, the prince would visit Rapunzel every chance he got. He would call out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," and she would lower her golden locks for him to climb. Sometimes he would bring her small flowers from the forest, and they would spend hours talking and laughing together. Their friendship deepened, and Rapunzel blossomed under the prince's visits. Her spirit, which had been dimmed by years of solitude, now shone brighter than ever. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the prince would arrive at the tower. He would call out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," and her golden hair would flow down like a welcoming embrace. The prince cherished these moments, the quiet strength of their bond, the whispered secrets, and the shared dreams that wove the tapestry of their friendship. Yet there was a shadow looming in the distance, a threat that could shatter their idyllic moments. The old witch, the one who had raised Rapunzel, was growing suspicious. She sensed the change in Rapunzel and suspected that someone was visiting her in secret. The question was, what would she do when she discovered the truth? Will the witch discover the prince's secret? Find out in the next episode. And now it's time for the end card. Don't forget to watch the next episode of this amazing story. Click on the link in the description below, or simply click on the end card. To make sure you don't miss any of our stories, subscribe for more content. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. If you enjoyed listening to this story, share this video with your family and friends, and make sure to follow us on social media. You can also listen to our other stories by clicking on the playlist link in the description below. We wish you happy dreaming and good night.